Daniel, welcome to Lifestyle Magnet.
Hi.
And you've created an app, and we wanted to find out more about this app, Track Sleep. So, but let's get some background. I met you at Quantified Self, and tell us a little bit of how you got into Quantified Self.
That brings me back a little bit. I got into Quantified Self actually 5 years ago when I was a senior in college. I had made my first app, and I was doing the rounds. I went through Wired magazine, and actually the people who started Quantified Self are the editors of, one of them was an editor of Wired magazine, Gary Wolf, and I'm getting his name right now.
Kevin Kelly?
Kevin Kelly.
Yeah.
And so I went out to San Francisco to present my app at a Quantified Self meetup there, and I was just blown away by how cool the meetup group was. It was held in a really cool location. It was a 3D printing place, and it was just really inspiring, I guess. And afterwards, I talked with Gary. Oh yeah, I remember the project was this guy made some like artwork out of his data. It was I've seen nothing. I've never seen anything like it before. It was really captivating. And afterwards, I talked to Gary Wolf, and he's like, you know, we're trying to spread out. Quantified Self actually started as a very small community of just, you know, like-minded people that were interested in tracking themselves, and they would meet, I think, at Gary's house or Kevin Kelly's house and just talk about it. And it just kind of organically grew. And he asked me, he said, you know, we don't have anyone in DC doing this. I know you're in DC. Why don't you try to give it a go? And I guess I've been trying to grow the group and help people with their Quantified Self projects and help people express themselves, I guess, for the past 5 years through that.
Yeah, I mean, you've done a great job. Actually, last night we were at a Quantified Self meetup, and what, about 50-odd people there?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your app. It tracks sleep.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of these out there. Probably Sleep Cycle is the one that most people are familiar with. And what these apps do is you sleep with the phone in bed with you, and based on your body movements, it can get a loose analysis of the type of sleep you're having. Mainly sleep efficiency is the best thing that it measures, basically how much time you're in bed sleeping. And, you know, I was always captivated by the idea of sleep in that we sleep so much. Is there anything that we can do to optimize or to improve that? You know, you spend about a third of your life sleeping. If I can make a third of my life, you know, 5% better, that seems like a huge lifestyle improvement. And so what happened actually is, you know, I was just minding my own business, and some neurologist contacted me out of the blue with this new scientific finding that basically, this is a study published in Neuron that showed if you play specific auditory frequencies that replicate, this is a little sciencey, they replicate the frequency of your brain waves when your brain is in deep sleep, which helps promote more deep sleep. And so deep sleep is that sleep that you're getting when you're really trying to, when your brain is kind of rejuvenating, consolidating memories. Your body is also recuperating. You know, you get more deep sleep when you learn more information the day before. You're going to need more of it when you're sick to, you know, boost your immune system. So if there's a way to improve deep sleep, that could vastly improve people's lives.
But that is what separates your app pretty much from the others, because the others really just monitor. Yours actually emit this tone, this frequency.
Yes. So it's this beeping sound, and you know, what happens is we estimate when you're in deep sleep, and when we estimate that, we play this beeping sound, which is actually kind of an annoying sound to the waking life user.
Right.
But when you're in deep sleep, there's evidence in the literature to support that it makes you have deeper deep sleep, basically. You can think about it like that.
And is it linked in any way to like binaural beats? I guess binaural beats need a stereo.
So it's a very different process,
right,
that's going on. So binaural beats, are usually people do it to help them fall asleep. But you don't play binaural beats to make you have deep sleep.
Right.
And so it's a quite different process than that, basically, is what I'd say.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're trying to validate it right now. So, you know, I'm a applied psychologist, and so I kind of study the process of bringing science from the laboratory to out in the real world and to the wild. And in that process, there's always difficulties because the effects in the lab are so controlled and tightly measured that they sometimes don't generalize out to the wild. So what I did is I took this effect in the laboratory and I tried to make an app that leverages this effect.
When you say in the laboratory, you say you've worked with...
So I haven't, but the study that I'm leveraging actually had people go into the lab. They would be hooked up to polysomnography, which is basically electrodes that can tell 99.9% what stage sleep you're in. And they only played the sounds when they knew with basically 100% accuracy that they were in deep sleep.
Wow.
So we'll see if it works. I'm trying to get people to use it and send their data to me, and there's a way for me to validate whether it's working or not, basically.
Based on the data that comes out of the app.
So so within the app, I built in basically a testing functionality to try to validate if it's working or not, where it randomly plays the sounds and it doesn't tell you if it played the sounds or not. And then based on that, I can run a little experiment to try to figure out if it's actually working. That's the goal.
That is amazing.
So I've worked with a neurologist called Mark Therian, and he's an endurance athlete, and he is meticulous about tracking his sleep. He's a neurologist, so he can actually hook himself up to these polysomnography devices, and he's done that like every night for 300 nights, and and he measures his alertness using something called the Psychomotor Vigilance task, which is probably the most sensitive measure. I developed an app for him to do this. And what he's found is he's basically found that he performs far better on his training when he gets a better night's sleep. And, you know, that's a personal thing, but that's also been validated time and time again. If you're a serious athlete, taking your sleep seriously is probably a good idea.
Tell us a little bit about some of the other apps you're perhaps working on.
Okay, so, you know, I've made a bunch of apps. One of the things that I'm interested in is understanding people's circadian component of sleep. I think that that's something that people overlook a lot of times. People are really captivated, I think, by their sleep cycles. You don't necessarily have that much control over your sleep cycles. And there's this subjective thing that you've probably experienced where sometimes you sleep less and you wake up in the morning and you feel wide awake, like it's a bright sunny day out there, and you're ready to go. And I think there's a misconception out there that that's due to waking up in a lighter sleep cycle. It's really not the case, because if you're sleeping a reasonable, healthy amount, you're getting almost no deep sleep towards the later phases of your sleep cycles. And so waking up in a different cycle really isn't going to impact your feelings of alertness in a meaningful way. What that probably is the circadian component of sleep. So everyone has a unique time in the day that's best for them to wake up. Some people are morning people. Some people are evening people. You know, I'm probably the best when I wake up at around 9 o'clock. If I start sleeping in more, I can wake up feeling actually really groggy because it's hitting it at my alertness level when it starts to go down. Because you can Google circadian component of sleep. It's something called a sinusoidal function. Yeah. So I made this app called Sleep to Peak, where you do the simple reaction time task. And based on that, it can get at your circadian component because you do it throughout the day with different amounts of sleep. And so it'll graph that, and you can, if you use it repeatedly, you can try to figure out your own unique circadian component.
And is that available right now?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Is it on the
Yeah.
App Store? Is it Android too?
Just iPhone. There's also a free one called Reaction Time. And then there's Sleep to Peak.
So if somebody wanted to, if they got an idea of what their circadian rhythm is and they wanted to hack their circadian rhythm either with diet or exercise, because I've heard that exercising at different parts of the day can influence that. Obviously, things like caffeine at certain times of the day. So
that's a good point. So the circadian component of sleep is impacted by external factors called Zeitgebers. And you can, so like you said, like exercising can actually impact your circadian component of sleep. Probably the biggest Zeitgeber is natural sunlight. So if you wanted to hack your circadian component, maybe shift it forwards or backwards, based on, I haven't actually used this, but my understanding is the best way to do that is with a blue light or a natural light that you turn on in the morning. If you do that in the morning, what will start happening is you will want to go to bed earlier and earlier.
So if one wanted to experiment with lights, with different color temperature lights at different times of the day, you could probably shift your circadian rhythm one way or the other. Wow. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's cool.
So obviously in the broader context of all of this, and what we're interested in here is lifestyle. And what is your take on lifestyle and how sleep fits into that?
It's an interesting question. I guess I'm a kind of philosophically a utilitarian, so what that means is the greatest good for the greatest number of people. I guess when I think of lifestyle, I think of the healthiest behaviors for the longest amount of time for myself.
And sleep's going to give you that.
And sleep is a big part of that. To the extent where, a lot of lifestyle has to do with the decisions that you're given, and sleep is something that will impact your decision making. Actually, you're more likely to make risky behaviors when you're sleep deprived. They've done some gambling studies to show stuff like that. So it's almost like I think sleep is one of the foundations for where all the other lifestyle things can come in. When I'm sleep deprived, I'm not going to want to exercise the next day. I'm not going to want to maybe be as social as I ought to be. So yeah, it's really important, I think, for a lifestyle.
So if somebody wanted to start today, what would be the one thing that they could start today or tonight to improve their sleep?
So
the one hack.
The one hack is going to bed at the same time every single night. That is going to consolidate your sleep. It's going to make your body build an expectancy for the fact that it should fall asleep at that time. What will start happening is you will fall asleep. If you have problems falling asleep, it's going to help. You're going to start being able to fall asleep in a shorter amount of time. And it's basically entrenching your body to a specific rhythm that's optimal for you. And also knowing when that time that you should be falling asleep is also an important thing. It's really too bad that, the school system that we have right now makes kids wake up at an unnatural hour for them. And so, and there's things that show that basically if you allow people to sleep their natural amounts, they're going to just perform way better on things like school testing and stuff. I think there's a cool study where they moved this school hour back an hour and people just did way better on their tests. Sorry, I'm getting off topic there.
Oh,
okay. I think that's the most important thing, is to go to bed at the right time and get the right amount of sleep, basically.
So just so that our viewers or anybody listening to this, where can one go to find your app?
My website is proactivelife.org. I have a few apps on there. The app I just released last week that tries to improve deep sleep is Sleep Smart Alarm Clock. And all these things are, available on the App Store, 99 cents. So it should be fun to test out.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Daniel, thanks so much.
Thank you.